Good morning, my name is Josh from CyclonesOZ, and here is your detailed weather forecast update for Friday the 12th of September 2025. Not too much to talk about today apart from some rainfall up in far North Queensland, a thunderstorm potential for parts of New South Wales, and just some general winter storms at the southeast and the southwestern corners of the nation. All the details on that plus more coming up in today's weather forecast update. If you are brand new to the channel, please do consider subscribing. And let's get stuck straight into things today. For your Friday morning, last day of the week, that low pressure system that's been giving the southeast and the eastern states all sorts of trouble throughout the course of the week has now left, and that's moving deeper out into the Tasman Sea. In fact, it's actually collided with the North Island of New Zealand, and it's really given them quite a bit of a walloping in terms of rainfall and wind speeds. But that means that the weather across the eastern states, especially for New South Wales and Victoria, a lot cooler, a lot calmer, and a lot more collected throughout the course of today. You can see wind observations throughout New South Wales and Victoria really calm this morning. A little bit windier down in Tasmania because they've got a bit of a winter flow coming through there. A little bit of a westerly flow still moving through in the Bass Strait, as you would expect through this time of the year. And as you might have noticed as well, we've got some winds now beginning to pick up into the Coral Sea. Now that is important because rainfall is imminent for far North Queensland, and generally when we start to see these southeasterly winds pick up, that means rainfall is not far away for North Queensland. And let's dive straight into the forecast on that right now. I'm really going to unpack the details with this rainfall. Just starting things off, the overview, we are looking at some rainfall coming through this weekend. Not an awful lot for the Cassowary Coast or the Daintree Rainforest, but between 20 to 60 millimetres is possible, and isolated totals to 100 millimetres also a possibility through parts of the Cassowary Coast and especially into the Daintree Rainforest. That is again drop in the bucket type rainfall for northern Queensland, so we're really not talking about a concerning amount of rainfall coming through. It is still something worth talking about. And then after about the 18th, we have more rainfall on the cards, especially in the week after about the 20th. We've got some more rainfall coming through out there, a further 50 millimetres or so. It's a very similar picture throughout a bit of a longer stretch of time. So rainfall is going to be piping up here and there, especially over the next 2 weeks throughout the Cape York Peninsula, but especially for the Cassowary Coast and the Daintree Rainforest. Again, nothing significant, nothing flooding, nothing that's requiring much attention at this point in time, but it is still something worth mentioning, especially at this time of the year. The rainfall is imminent. So how much are we expecting and when is it going to come in? Well, you can see that southeasterly flow is already bringing a few clouds and a few showers here and there to parts of the Cape York Peninsula. Throughout the Cassowary Coast, we've got a few clouds starting to build through there, but you can see this speckled cloud out here into the Coral Sea. This is the stuff that's going to be the rain-making stuff. Now, it's nothing significant right now. We will see this develop a little bit more later this afternoon, and you can see in line with what the forecast models are suggesting, a few showers expected to extend through the Cassowary Coast. Very isolated showers later this afternoon and into this evening, and then they'll pick up a little bit more through early tomorrow morning. Tomorrow morning into tomorrow afternoon, we're going to see some pretty frequent showers moving into the Daintree Rainforest and also throughout the Cassowary Coast, but again, still few and far between in comparison to what we would see in a wet season downpour coming through. But what's really caught my eye is thunderstorms over the Cape York Peninsula. Further inland from the Atherton Tablelands, we are looking at a pretty good chance of some thunderstorms, some really healthy convective pulse thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon and evening, some of which could go severe with damaging winds, isolated heavy rainfall, and some small hailstones. I'm in particularly more concerned about the timing between about 4 and 10 o'clock tomorrow afternoon and evening. I definitely reckon we're going to see some pretty healthy thunderstorms developing in this part of the Cape York Peninsula where absolutely nothing or no one is. Locations that may be infected, very limited locations, but Chillago could be affected by these, also with Laura. I think Georgetown, Forsyth and Croydon might be a little bit too far south to really receive impacts from these thunderstorms. Showers will continue through tomorrow afternoon and evening for the Cape York Peninsula along the east coast and especially around the Daintree Rainforest, but also for the Cassowary Coast as well. Showers tending to rainfall at times expected through late Sunday night into early Sunday morning for the Daintree Rainforest, and then showers and rainfall pull back to the Cassowary Coast through Sunday, and you can see rainfall pulling away from the Cape York Peninsula as Sunday pulls forward. You can see as we get out towards Monday, a few showers still expected here and there around the Cardwell Gap area and through the Cape York Peninsula, the Cassowary Coast rather, but we're not expecting anything significant in the way of rainfall there. Monday, showers do continue a little bit, and that also goes in towards Tuesday. You can see a few more showers expected through Tuesday. They could get a little bit heavy at times in the morning, and then through Wednesday and Thursday, conditions look to dry out quite a bit for the Cape York Peninsula, and after about the 20th, the rainfall does pull away from the Cape York Peninsula for a good couple of days, and then you can see later on into the forecast period, after about the 24th, there is the chance of some showers firing up in the Cape York Peninsula once again. As we start to get out towards late September, we do start to see rainfall build on a bit more of a frequent basis for the Cape York Peninsula. So this sort of weather is going to become a lot more commonplace in the next couple of weeks. It's not until about late November or early December, I find, until the real rainfall, where we're talking about a couple of 100 millimetres coming through in a 24-hour period. That fires up on the forecast of the Cape York Peninsula. That stuff normally doesn't happen until at least mid-November. This year, it's probably going to be around mid-November as well. So we're not talking about anything serious for at least another 8 to 9 weeks or so. But the rainfall rainfall is definitely now starting to build across the Cape York Peninsula in a little bit more of an insignificant fashion. You can see 14-day rainfall accumulations. There are a few drops that are definitely worth noting. You can see the European forecast calling for up to 200 millimetres here into the Daintree rainforest and up to 125 millimetres here, in fact up to 140 millimetres here around Babinda and Innisfail on the Cassowary coast. Take these numbers with a heavy pinch of salt. They can get blown out pretty easily by the European forecast, but considering that the GFS is actually calling for some really respectable numbers now for the Cassowary coast, which is quite unusual for them, and even the other forecast models now jumping on board with some pretty healthy rainfall accumulations, I'm inclined to say that at least one location is going to pick up triple-figure rainfall accumulations in the next 10 days across the Cape York Peninsula. Whether that's Innisfail, Babinda, Belen and Kerr, or Daintree Village, for example, we're not 100% sure yet. It could actually go either way. The Daintree could pick up the majority of the rainfall, or the Cassowary coast could pick up the majority of the rainfall. Still a little bit early to tell, but I definitely reckon we're going to be seeing at least one or two triple-figure rainfall accumulations through a 7-day period up in the Cape York Peninsula, the first of their kind since about May of this year. So definitely the rainfall now starting to get quite heavy up there at times. Again, I need to stress this again. I can smell the comments already, but this is not rainfall to be concerned about. It's just that we're having a very slow news day here at CyclonesOZ. This stuff is making the cut to the CyclonesOZ videos. But yeah, if you are interested in Far North Queensland, this is going to be your home of it for the next 8 months. So make sure you do click the subscribe button, leave a like on the video as well, and you'll have all things Far North Queensland weather throughout the next couple of months as the wet season builds and as the wet season moves through. In towards New South Wales, there's not an awful lot to be talking about down here as well, but we do have a bit of a thunderstorm chance later next week. If I push this forecast modelling forward, you can see New South Wales expected to be high and dry throughout the remainder of this week and into this weekend. You can see very limited rainfall expected through New South Wales. The chance of a few convective thunderstorms over the border in towards southeast Queensland, and also one or two convective-based thunderstorms later tomorrow afternoon and evening into the northeast of the state. They will be very isolated if they do develop, but if we take a look at convective available potential energy values, there are numbers above zero, so cherry picking those, you can see that there is going to be a little bit of energy in the environment for them, and again, coupled with some humidity, we may see a few pulse thunderstorms, definitely a few showers into the northeast of New South Wales. They will pull away through Sunday and Monday. You can see a few showers still expected here and there, but New South Wales remaining high and dry as we get out towards early next week. Bit of a cold front coming through on Tuesday that'll keep temperatures cool. Then Wednesday we do have a thunderstorm chance for parts of the mid-north coast between Taree and Coffs Harbour and inland through there. It's a pretty weak signal at this point in time. Thursday conditions go back to dry, and then Friday, as a bit of a stronger cold front comes through, the central tablelands and the foothills of the Blue Mountains may see a good thunderstorm chance Friday the 19th of September. Generally speaking, around this time of the year, when we start to see cold fronts pushing through towards New South Wales and even in towards the south central parts of Queensland, this is where we start to see some proper severe thunderstorm outbreaks and some very solid thunderstorm chances. This one is not a very strong signal at all. You can see this cold front is actually very, very weak, and it's not really got any grunt or any power to it at all. But if we have a look at convective available potential energy values ahead of this cold front and meeting up with that moist air coming in from the coastline, we may see some good thunderstorm chances around Dubbo, Orange, Tamworth, Coolah, Mudgee, those sort of locations. It is still a very weak signal at this point in time, but I would say at some point later next week, whether it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday or Saturday, we will see a thunderstorm outbreak through parts of New South Wales. It's not expected to be a severe one. We're definitely not talking about a widespread severe thunderstorm outbreak, but we will see temperatures rise ahead of this cold front, and as you all know, cool moist air meeting up with warm dry air in an unstable environment, that's going to let loose with some wild thunderstorms that could potentially occur on the forecast. So we will keep a very close eye out on the forecast modelling here. It's definitely a weak signal at this point in time, but I do think that, especially considering the time of the year, this is a very likely occurrence at this point in time. It's too early to say if they're going to be severe thunderstorms, and it's also too early to say exactly what locations are going to be the worst impacted by these systems. I just thought, again, it is worth a heads up at this point in time. You can tell it is a very, very slow news day here. Other major forecast models not too inclined to say much on this thunderstorm outbreak. You can see the axis is sort of calling for something later on Friday as well, and the axis is a very good convective forecast model even into the long range, so that does give me a little bit of confidence in this forecast here, but again, take it with a heavy pinch of salt. And into the winter weather forecast part of this forecast update, the west coast of Tasmania running away with some pretty heavy rainfall accumulations into the next 14 days. You can see falls as heavy as 250 millimetres through parts of the west coast into the central tablelands and the central plateau of Tasmania. Rainfall accumulations into the southwest wilderness between 200 to 250 millimetres, and it's no one big cold front coming through that's going to deliver the majority of this rainfall accumulations. You can see as we push this forecast modelling forward here, it's just that westerly flow that's continuing for the west coast, and that's why they're receiving so much rain rainfall into the next 10 days. In fact, August and September are typically Tasmania's wettest 2 months of the year, and that is going to be no different this year. You can see, especially through the middle parts of next week, we're expecting some heavy rainfall and potentially some heavy snowfall through Tuesday and Wednesday, and then that will return on Friday and Saturday with some more rainfall coming through there. But you can see there's no one rainfall event that really brings a massive amount of rainfall to Tassie, or even through parts of Victoria, which you can see in the northern part of the screen here. It's just going to be that steady westerly flow coming through that's bringing this rainfall down to parts of Tasmania, or to the west coast of Tasmania. And when we do see these westerly flow type weather events pipe up, it's generally speaking not that heavy for the east coast. You can actually see Hobart with under 50 millimetres of rainfall into the next 14 days. In fact, closer to 30 millimetres of rainfall, in stark contrast to the west coast, which is expecting 10 times that amount. Good rainfall accumulation is also expected through parts of Victoria, especially along the south coast. Again, same story. No one particular weather event that's going to be bringing all of that rainfall. It's just going to be some steady but heavy rainfall at times coming through from showers as that westerly flow picks up. But some really good snowfall is expected, as you would expect, with 14 days with snow on the forecast for about 10 of those to the central plateau of Tasmania. Up to a metre of the stuff is on the forecast modelling right now. I think that's a little bit bullish, especially considering other forecast models haven't really called for any numbers close to that throughout the course of this year. But you can see the GFS is also very much on board with up to a metre of snowfall. The Axis is also calling for some pretty significant numbers as well, much later on into the forecast period, which I can't actually dive into on this map here. But yeah, Tasmania could be in for a pretty significant helping of snowfall, and same for the Snowy Mountains and the Victorian Alps as well. We could be seeing some pretty significant helpings of snow there into the next 14 days, so it will be interesting to see what does develop there. Definitely expecting some pretty good winter weather coming through for the Victorian Alps, the New South Wales Snowy Mountains, and especially for the west coast of Tasmania. The southwest corner of Western Australia still has rainfall on the forecast as well. You can see 14-day rainfall accumulation is also looking relatively healthy for this time of the year, up to 80 millimetres onto the south coast. Rainfall accumulation is a little bit lighter into the Darling Range, up around 60 millimetres, and through Perth about 20 to 30 millimetres is expected. Again, we aren't expecting one big cold front to come through, rather some smaller, more insignificant cold fronts, in particularly one coming through tomorrow morning into tomorrow afternoon. We will see a bit of a frontal system make way into the Perth metro area with a few showers and strong wind gusts possible tomorrow morning, and then the main weather system coming through at about 3 or 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon and evening for the Perth metro area. And then behind it, we do get a bit of a southerly flow coming through, especially through Sunday morning. We could be seeing some pretty strong wind gusts push into the Perth metro area, gusts as strong as 80 to 90 kilometres an hour and up to 110 kilometres an hour along the southwest Capes. This is definitely going to be a front that catches a few people off guard, I would imagine. It is a bit windier than what we do normally see, but I doubt that it's going to go severe weather warned. It's still quite a strong one, and definitely something worth mentioning though, and definitely something worth keeping an eye on. Up to 25 millimetres is possible through Sunday morning throughout the southwest Capes and the Perth metro area, up to 35 millimetres possible into the Perth Hills, and falls between 10 to 20 millimetres also possible through parts of the wheat belt. Rainfall pulling away through Sunday night, a few showers still lingering for the coastal regions through Monday, and another rainfall band coming through on Tuesday and Wednesday. This one quite a bit weaker than the one coming through on the weekend. Showers moving through on Thursday and Friday. It just looks like next week is going to be a little bit more turbulent than we do normally see. And then have a go at this. Look at all this sunshine coming through after the 20th of September. I'm spewing that I'm going over east because this is just beautiful weather coming through as a high pressure ridge builds in the Great Australian Bight. And have a look at some of these maximum temperatures. Tuesday the 23rd looks like we're going up into the mid 20s across Perth and even the high 20s in parts of the wheat belt. The 24th warmer, still high 20s into the wheat belt, even early 30s into parts of the Murchison region, and again 30 degrees for the first time on the 25th of September. Absolutely spewing that I'm going over east at this point in time, and I'm going to be missing all of this absolutely glorious weather here. It is going to be absolutely beautiful across Western Australia by the looks of things into the second last week of September. So get amongst it, get ready for it. It looks absolutely spectacular, that's for sure. And I'm, again, spewing that I'm going over east. And just on those temperatures, it is going to start to warm up after about the 20th of September as well, especially through the northwest of Western Australia. The Kimberley looking at 40-degree temperatures after about the 20th. Yeah, the 20th, we're looking at maybe up towards 41 or 42 outside of Derby here, or Fitzroy Crossing, going to get quite warm. 40 degrees also expected into Arnhem Land, into the Northern Territory. And 40-degree temperatures do ease off a little bit. They pull away on the 22nd and the 23rd, a little bit cooler expected there, but you can still see it's expected to be quite warm up into the northwest of Western Australia and into the Northern Territory as well. But that's going to do it for today's weather forecast update. I think that's about as detailed as you can get, so if you have enjoyed the detail and the narration, then please do let me know in the comment section down below and leave a like on the video while you're at it as well. Thank you so much for all of the support recently on the channel. A special shout out goes out to the channel sponsors. Their support is also massively appreciated. I could not run this show without them. But yeah, whilst there's not a whole lot to talk about, there is definitely still plenty of nitty-gritty stuff to talk about into the next 14 days, so subscribe if that is your cup of tea. Check out the Facebook page as well. That's growing every single day still, so thank you so much for all the support on that. That is going to be all from me today. Have a great week and have a great weekend. I'll catch you on the next storm. Goodbye.